Lisa, you're still, Lisa, maybe if you just turn your vision off, your video off, that will be fine. Welcome everyone, we're starting our webinar. Welcome to our third professional developments webinar in the Leadership for Sustainability program that New South Wales A2E2 has been running for the last, I suppose 6 months. It's great that you're all here today. Today's webinar is with Les Robinson, and he's going to be following up the workshop that he ran on engagement and facilitation. So, but before Les gets started, I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you briefly for the next sort of 10 minutes about the strategic plan template that I emailed you all earlier this morning. Okay, so whether or not you've had a look through the RSEN strategic plan template, we're going to go through it for the next 10 minutes, and hopefully that will help you guys in understanding the next steps in the program. So what are the aims of the template? The aims of the template are to help the networks to attract more members, to help reduce burnout of current members, and to help encourage collaboration across all the sectors. So how will a strategic plan help to attract more members? The plan can be seen as a marketing tool. It sells your network to potential members, and it sells your network as an organised network that's working towards an important vision, as fun, welcoming and inclusive, something that's not a chore to be involved in, something that will make their life easier, something that is worthwhile investing their precious personal time in. For these reasons, you guys are all encouraged to put your plan on the A2E2 New South Wales website or onto your own website, so that you can refer potential members to it and really help them to feel compelled to join the network. So how will a strategic plan help to reduce burnout of your current members? The plan articulates that there are no formal leadership roles, there are no coordinators, only conveners, rotating chairs and minute takers. And this may be a bit of a change for some of the networks. The plan also shows that conveners have minimal responsibilities and are encouraged once a year to hand the baton, so to speak, and step down if they feel at risk of burnout. It also articulates that everyone in the network is responsible for its success, and hopefully will help to show that being part of the network is fun. Now, how will a strategic plan increase collaboration across all sectors? The plan articulates that sustainability education and engagement facilitators from all sectors are welcome. It lists all the different sectors. For those people out there who might not have considered themselves as a sustainability educator or a sustainability education and engagement facilitator. By this I mean, you know, you probably have people in your own networks who wouldn't call themselves a sustainability educator or call themselves a engagement facilitator, but that's what they're actually doing. You know, an example might be, say, if you work in the land care network and you're a land care facilitator, people within your own circles may not refer to you as a sustainability educator. However, we know that people that work in land care are educating farmers and engaging farmers, helping them to look after the environment. So indeed, they are part of our tribe. The plan mentions collaboration a lot, probably more than half a dozen times. And, you know, it's just good to remember this phrase that I've recently come across: teamwork makes the dream work, which really sums up the value of collaboration in whatever it is that we do. So what is it that you should do now with the template? What are the next steps? Because after this webinar, your formal professional development phase of this program will have been completed, and we now move into stage 2, which is where you take this knowledge out into your networks. So the next step is simply using the template at your next network meeting to create a strategic plan. Or you can have an online meeting using Zoom to go through the template with your Leadership for Sustainability colleagues from your region, if you'd like to make sure everyone's on the same page, and then use your version of the template and how you've amended it to create a strategic plan at your next network meeting. I mention this because I know from speaking to some of the networks that that's what they would like to do, and that's a really great way for all of you guys to start engaging with each other if you haven't already been doing that. So now I'm just going to quickly run through the strategic plan document itself very quickly. Don't worry, I know you're all itching to hear from Les. So as you can see, we've got a cover page. There's a background there which sets the context for how this has come about. How to use this template. This is important. The template is simply a guide to assist your regional sustainability education networks to create their own strategic plans. The wording that we have in the plan, you will see, is simply an example, and you can choose to use that wording or you can choose to edit it as you see fit. Basically, we've tried to create a template that can help each network spend as little or as much time as they want to create their strategic plan. Networks are also encouraged to consider doing a SWOT analysis as part of their strategic planning meeting. This can be just a really valuable exercise and provide a lot of insights into your network. So the actual template itself is, as you can see, less than 3 pages long. I'm just scrolling through it. You can all read through it at your leisure. There's a vision, a mission statement. The ethos is important. That really captures the philosophy of the network, and that's where you start to see how this template is hopefully going to reduce burnout amongst the existing volunteers and the networks, and also help to encourage more people to join the network. The guiding principles here, this is quite important. These guiding principles are from the Make the Change framework for education and engagement for sustainability. So that's the A2E2 New South Wales framework that has been developed because the state government does not have a current sustainability education plan. So the guiding principles talk about what best practice sustainability education and engagement projects do, and what they are like, and what's special about them. And that wording has been very carefully thought and created by A2E2 New South Wales, and is based upon Education for Sustainability principles. So if there's one part of this template that you don't change, I suppose I would encourage you not to change the guiding principles. Please add to them. Yeah, because we're all striving towards best practice sustainability education and engagement, and the guiding principles really helps to articulate to everyone in your network what best practice is all about. Then we've got goals and objectives, evaluation, and then 2 sections, membership and administration. these sections are normally are commonly found in a terms of reference, but we really just wanted to keep it simple so that all of your networks could just have one document that that you could use to explain to others what you're on about and how your meetings and network works. So please become familiar with it. Remember that it's up to you guys now to take this template and work with your networks to create a strategic plan, because the next step after that is to create a best practice project plan for the sustainability education project that you'll be running this year collaboratively with that $1,000 of funding from the New South Wales Environmental Trust. So I'm now going to hand you over to Les and enjoy the webinar. So thank you, and thank you, Les.
Hi folks, welcome and thanks for having me. Well, now the purpose of this session is all things facilitation. So, and of course that's our role. We're in the role of convening and facilitating interesting groups of people. And I was thinking about how to run this and, you know, what kind of lecture I should give on facilitation. And then it occurred to me that that would be really hypocritical to give a lecture on facilitation. Instead, maybe I should be facilitative about the way I run this session. And so what I'd like to do is to just give a teeny weeny little talk and then make the whole of the rest of our time together facilitative so that we share our genius and our lessons with each other, because I'm willing to bet that there is about 1,000 years worth of seasoned facilitation savvy at the end of the line here. So let's see how much we can gather together. I particularly want to focus on the meetings that we hold, the meetings that we convene and facilitate, and see how we can get the best out of those. And so I'm just going to show you a little. Actually, no, I won't. I'll just talk for a moment first. Anyway, so that I say, part one, me talk for a little while. Part two, I'm going to invite you to throw in as many ideas as you can about meeting structure ideas that have worked for you, that you've tried out or would like to try, that would make a difference. And then I want to open it up to just a general troubleshooting session. So anything around facilitation and engagement that is a challenge or an uncertainty or something that you'd like an answer to, or maybe something that you would like to share with us about something really cool that worked. So that's the third part of our time together. So part one, me talk. Part two, focused on structure. And I want to gather your ideas and share mine. And then part three, open troubleshooting. How does that sound? Could we just test out our technology by getting lots of people to say, yeah, or a similar exclamation, so that I know that you're all there and you all heard what I said and kind of respond. Nice, good, sounds good, cool, great, good, excellent, yeah, yeah, sounds good, nice, yeah, good, cool, on ya. On ya. All right. I feel I'm headed in the right direction. Okay, so to begin with, facilitation. It is, you know, it is just the most important thing. You know, you look at what's happening in Australia and America and you see societies being purposefully divided, and the people who stick societies back together again and stick diverse groups of people back together again, that is really the role of facilitators. That's what we do. It's when, you know, we make it possible for diverse groups of people to work as a whole. And it really is such a critical function and you know, worthy of our attention. And I think of the role of a facilitator as a person who gives the gift of structure to a group of people. Because no matter how well-meaning people are, without structure, they really are going to waste their time. You know, they're going to squabble and, you know, one person might try to dominate, and even though they don't want to, they'll do that because that's who they are. And other people will be afraid to speak because they're just a little bit timid and they don't want to do that, but that's the way the dynamics are working out. And you'll end up with arguments. And you'll also end up with, you know, catastrophically wasted time unless there is a bit of facilitation. So the facilitator is the person who, you know, has thought about what is the structure I'm creating for these people who I've, in the meeting that I've convened or am facilitating, and to plan it out beforehand and, you know, have it in your back pocket and pull it out, explain it to people, and then get a check off. A check off means You say, how do you feel about that? Is that okay? Pause, wait for people to give you some feedback. And almost always people will say, oh, that's good, because they're really thankful that you're offering a structure for their discussion. When people know that there's a structure, they feel comfortable. They feel someone's in charge. They feel their time won't be wasted. And so people are always very thankful that someone is going to create a structure. Now, those of you who were in my workshop, the workshop earlier, late last year, will probably remember this structure here. And it was the one that we looked at then. I can't recall in what depth we looked at it, but it's an all-purpose template that I use when I'm facilitating, and I try to include all the different elements of facilitation in it. And so there's that. By the way, does my cursor, can people see my cursor? Good, okay. So there's the beginning, excuse me, starting well, acknowledging country, introducing yourself, absolutely clear description of the purpose. Why are we here? What is the purpose of this gathering? And then to start to engage people. From the very beginning, start to make requests that people make responses to you, even if it's just, how many of you came by bus and how many of you rode bikes. So whatever it is, we're getting responses from people, and we're establishing a rhythm of, question, response, question, response, question, response. And that really engages people. So they really, start to get in sync with each other and feel like they've become a group. And then we do participant introductions, and we sketch the running order, have some ground rules. And once again, people really welcome ground rules. And then up here, we have the information and inspiration part of our time together, where we're exciting people and stimulating their minds. And that's so important, because you don't want people to be in a workshop or an event and, it's the end of a hard day and maybe they're not feeling that stimulated. You need to stimulate them before they start to share ideas with each other. And then we do group work together, where we do workshopping. And then at the end, there's, a process for ending an event. And the one I like to do is to go around and get a final word from everyone, and make sure I really celebrate everyone's efforts with a round of applause or a group hug, and then make sure at the end people know what's the next thing that's happening. So that's an all-purpose template that I use, and I'm pretty certain, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone got a copy of that at our workshop. Is that right? True, they did. Good. Okay, so I really won't talk about that anymore. What I really want to talk about is particular tips and tricks for making the event fun, welcoming, and inclusive, and not a chore, just like it says in the strategic plan. So I've got a few little ideas here. I'm just going to stop share, okay? But I'm going to go and use as a structure for a discussion with all of you. And so here it is here. Yeah, now that part there where it says meeting ideas, I am going to give you all a challenge. And one of the interesting things about facilitation is the way that facilitation can respond to the rhythm of people's day. So in the morning, you've got people in the morning, that's fantastic. They really, they have energy. They want to get out there and, burn mental energy and get involved. They want to be physical. They want to do things up until lunchtime, when suddenly it all falls in a terrible heap and people are actually quite useless for a while after lunch. And all I find that we can really do with people after lunch is get them to finish what they started in the morning. But whatever it is after lunch, it has to be very involving and interactive. Otherwise, they'll fall asleep. But then a magic thing happens around about 3 o'clock, as people get a second wind. And so that's what I'm going to take advantage of you, which is your second wind, where we start to wake up again and be capable of exercising our imaginations. So here are a number of things that I think are useful to have up our sleeve. Firstly, it's good to have some tricks for breaking the ice. Nextly, it's good to have some tricks for making sure that we share, people have a chance to share their war stories and lessons in a way that really makes them feel as if they've been listened to and heard. Thirdly, it's neat to have some ways to shake things up so that people feel it's not just another meeting. Also, inspirations are important. So what are some nice inspirations that we can use to make sure people's brains are stimulated? And then physicality. I find physicality is really critical when people come together. There's a real strong connection between people's brains and their bodies. And if people's bodies are active, their brains become more active as well. So how can we make things a little physical? And then I thought, well, we also want to create with people. We want to workshop and create new solutions. So what are some nice ways to do that? And lastly, what are some ways that we have celebrated success that we can learn from? Now, I'm willing to bet that as I went through that list, all of you thought of some things you've done that are interesting, that are nice examples. So I'm going to do a thing now where I invite each of you, I'm going to create 2 entire minutes of total silence for each of you to think of 1 or 2 things, or even more things, that you have done under each of those categories that you think are shareable, that you think are interesting and you might like to share with the rest of us. And what I'm really looking for are methods or techniques that others could learn from, or tricks that others could learn from. And I'm going to share a few too. So I'm going to go through these. I'll give you a couple of minutes, then I'll go through these one at a time. So step 1 is I'm going to create 2 minutes of silence. So please don't fall asleep, and I'll come back online in 2 minutes. I am now timing. "20 seconds to go." Oh, good. Okay. So now I'd like to start by sharing a couple of ideas, and then I'm going to invite all of you simultaneously to share ideas that you have as well. And in this way, we might be able to create some interesting content that we can share with each other. And as we go along, you might see an idea and you think, well, I'm going to try that idea. So I want to just start by sharing a couple of neat ideas about icebreakers. And let me just see how to do this. Stop share. Okay, I'm going to go on share screen. Here is 3 really cool icebreaker ideas. And it's from a really wonderful LinkedIn thread on icebreaking. And the first idea was, ask everyone to come up with 3 things about themselves, one of which will be a lie, And they then move around the room and ask others to guess which one is the lie. Now, I've tried that quite a few times at workshops, and it's just beautiful. Everyone really loosens up and has a laugh, and it's beautiful. It's a wonderfully engaging way to start an event. Another one is, this is from a Lynette Johnson. She says, I'm a person who loathes icebreakers. The best icebreaker I've ever done is to get groups of people in pairs, and one tells their life story in 5 minutes. Their pair then tells the groups what the storyteller has to offer the group. Unbelievable talents are uncovered in the room beyond their job description and respect. I think that's a lovely way to introduce a group of people to each other, because you find out about the depth of their character and the unique skills that they can bring to a group. And the last one is from Darren Goff. Break the group into 2s or 3s. Give everyone a sheet of A4 paper and ask them to work out how they can all stand on that sheet of paper. So you give a group of 3 people 1 sheet of paper, and you ask them to figure out how they can, all 3 can stand on it. I saw this done at an event of 500 people, and it worked because there's no right answer. In fact, there isn't really an answer at all, but people like to figure it out. It breaks down inhibition and it instantly removes personal physical boundaries. It's funny and daft. Everyone is put at ease. So that's some nice ideas I heard of. And now I'm keen to see if any of you have come up with any interesting ideas as well. So the idea would be to jot them down. Tell us something we wouldn't guess about you. Yep, that's a really good one. Oh, lovely. Oh, that's a good one. I've never done that one, but I've often heard about the native animal one. Dancing. Good. I had an experience in a workshop where there was one woman who was a really good dancer. She was a salsa dancer. At lunchtime, I said, would you like to do the Energizer after lunch and do a bit of salsa dancing? Not a single person in that room would move a muscle because they were so terrified they wouldn't be able to dance as well as her. Good one. Oh yeah, I expect all of this to be shared with everyone. In fact, I believe that Erica is quite willing to collate all of this and make sure that we get it. I've never done the human knot. I think it would be so good. Get the group to reach in and join hands with others. The group has to then untangle themselves without letting go of the hands. I've done it a few times, but I've never made it happen. Oh, lovely. Lovely. Oh, wow. A mystery machine with bodies. Good one. Oh, good, yeah. Turning people into a map. Oh. Oh, wow. Okay, all right. I think I might try that one. Wonderful. Okay, that's sounding like we've exhausted our ideas. So really good work, guys. There's such a lot of fantastic talent there. So I reckon this would make a good publication. Oh, good one. Okay, folks, I might move on now. I hope that's okay. If any more icebreaker ideas come to you, please don't be afraid just to jot them down. Everything doesn't have to be in order. Now, I'd like to move on to the second idea, which was a good way to share war stories and lessons. And what I meant by that was that people, just get screen share, that people, people need to be able to tell stories about their experiences, because stories are what we learn from. And everyone has challenges and everyone finds ways to overcome them. They find different ways to overcome them. And I want to share with you a really simple method that I use here. And the very first time I did it, I really barely had any idea what I was doing. It was a conference of youth workers. And actually, they were kind of early childcare workers who I know nothing about at all. So I had no idea what to do. There was a whole room full of people. So I got them around their tables and I asked every individual person, to think of their biggest victory in the past 12 months, their biggest challenge in the last 12 months, and the biggest lesson they learned in the last 12 months. And then I got the tables to share those stories with each other, and every table chose a best set to share with the whole room. And so that meant everyone around the table got to hear, say, 5 or 6 different sets of victories, challenges, and lessons. And then they got to think about the best one and share it with the whole room. And there was probably like 10 tables in the room. So that meant there were 10 sets of victories, challenges, and lessons. And afterwards, one of the people in the room came up to me and said, that was the best session in the workshop. I mean, in the conference. So I thought, okay, that's good. And really, it's a great chance for people to talk about themselves and be really listened to. And also for lessons to be pulled out of stories. It's one thing to tell a story. It's another thing to think, well, what is the lesson that's in that story? So the way I do this now is I get people in pairs. So there's tables of 5 or 6. I get people in pairs around the table, extracting each other's victory, challenge, and lesson from each other. So they've got a buddy to help them. They then share it with the table, and then the tables then share it with the whole room. And as each one is heard with the whole room, I have a great big round of applause, and we really celebrate every idea. And I've done this a few times, and I love it. So that's my idea that I would like to share about a great way to share. So I'm going to open it to you now to suggest some methods that you have used to share stories and lessons with people in a workshop or meeting. Oh, that's a good one. Actually, that is very beautiful, to ask people to go and remember what it was that created their interest in the environment, because it is really an inspiring question to ask, and it actually tears people up as they remember those moments, and it really does bring people back to that kind of the real energy that got them into this work. It's a wonderful way to revitalize a group of people, because they can start to remember why they're really doing their work. Yeah. Yeah, it is important whenever we ask people to do something that we demonstrate it to them first, or really half the people in the room will get it wrong, or we won't have explained it properly, but nothing beats demonstration. Oh, I forgot the chocolate. We forgot chocolate. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. 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 Yeah, nice. Hmm. Good. Well, you're grateful for the worst. I like that. Good work. I love these ideas. I would like to move on to that next idea on the list now, just because of the way time is going. And the next idea on the list was how I shook things up. So a couple of ways that I have shaken things up. One way was, and it's just such a simple thing, I absolutely hate the way that meeting rooms are so often set up with like circular big U shapes or U shapes of tables. I think is really a most unhappy way to have people interacting with each other, or just the way that the tables and room arrangements really create formality. And once I really took offence to the way a room had been set up, and I just said to everyone, please, how would it be if we all crawled under our tables and sat in a circle together? And everyone did. They all crawled under their tables and we just all sat in a circle together in the middle of the room. And it was just beautiful. It was really lovely, and it completely changed the way we interacted with each other, and it created, relaxation and informality. So I would count that as a good way to shake things up. And the other thing that came to mind when I got a chance to shake things up was when it was a waste conference, and I had to be the person who convenes a whole session where industry experts were talking about their thing, and they all had 40-minute PowerPoints with 100 slides. And I said to them, okay, all right, I put them aside. I said, okay, everyone has 6 minutes and 4 slides. And they went, what? They did it though. They rose to the occasion. They all limited themselves to 4 slides. And then I set the whole room in a big circle. And what came out of that was just a conversation. There was no agenda. It was just a conversation. And it ended up being just wonderful in terms of people really challenging the industry on so many different issues. And it put people on the circle, the big circle, put people on a really equal footing with each other as well. So, so those are 2 ways that I've been able to shake things up. I might open it to you now. Who has thought of some interesting ways that you haven't already thought of, because there's a lot of good ones there, to shake up, to break people's expectations about what might happen in a meeting or event? Take people outside. Good one. Ah ha ha. Actually, just pirate hats can be great. They're really cheap. You can get them from a fancy dress place. Mm. Mm. Nice. That is a lovely idea, actually. Just having quick competitions, like just a quick trivia, 5-minute trivia event. Mm. Ooh. Hmm. Mm. That's a nice idea, isn't it? I mean, at one meeting, you could ask people for their most perfect meeting and then incorporate their ideas into the next one. Mm. Good work, everyone. I'd like to move on to the next idea now, and that is, who has ideas about some inspirations that you've used? And my idea, oh yeah, I want to share one beautiful workshop I went to. It was the Sydney Facilitators Network. Now, I don't know whether any of you are part of that, but it really is a wonderful group. It meets one Monday per month, and it's near Central Station. It's full of facilitators from across Sydney, and I mean, I've only been to one, but it was great. But I know it meets all the time, and it's just a wonderful way to hang out with other facilitators, and at every meeting they really get someone to share ideas and share a method, so you walk away with new methods. And the method I learned was everyone, a whole room full of people, form a big circle and all sit down, and then nothing. There's just silence. But people are allowed to say whatever they want into the silence. So it begins with everyone just being very silent and very nervous and very, unsure what to say. And then someone won't be able to help themselves and they'll say something. And then someone else won't be able to help themselves and they'll say something else. And it actually became very beautiful and almost mystical, and ideas just started popping out of the silence. And I found it a wonderful way for people to feel that they were in touch with some greater force when they were together as well. So that was a lovely way to start inspiringly in an event. And then the other inspirations I'm always using are TED Talks, really. They are just great. I mean, they're invented to inspire, and they normally do the job very well. I might hand it over to you. What are some inspirations that you've used, and particularly ones that could be useful for the AAEE network? A water bar. Oh. 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 Okay. That's a great idea. Something that gives us energy. Oh. It is good to remember our environmental activism history. That's okay. Okay, folks, just because of the way time is going, I want to maybe cover the next 3 ideas simultaneously, and then some brilliant other person can figure out how to put them into categories. I'd like to look at ways to get physical with people, and another one is also just straightforward workshopping solutions, answers to things, and then how we celebrate successes. And so I might just briefly mention one way that I try to make things physical. By physical, I mean that there's movement. So, and it's a simple idea, but every time in a workshop where there's a new activity, I say, find a person to do this with who you haven't worked with before. And so people just end up swapping around, meeting new people in the workshop. And it's really quite, people have to get up and move around to do that. And it's easy to do. And people love to meet new people. Under the heading, how I workshop ideas, there's one nice little method that I've used a few times. And it's a way to do really intensive multiple brainstorms simultaneously. And that is you have sheets of flip chart paper and one question per sheet. So you break whatever the issue is into the series of separate questions, and each one you want an answer to. It might be, when should we have our next party? What entertainment should we have at the party? Where should we have the party, and what food should we have at the party? So there's 4 separate questions. You put one on each sheet, and then you divide the room into 4 groups, and everyone has 5 minutes to put down as many ideas as they can on each sheet. And then after that 5 minutes, you swap the sheets around to the next table. So the people on the next table have another go at the same questions. A 5 minutes swap, 5 minutes swap. And in no time, the whole room has brainstormed all 4 questions. So it is a really quick way to get a lot of mental work done really quickly. And then because each piece of paper still has all the answers to that question is still on one piece of paper, it becomes really easy to prioritize with dots afterwards. And the other way that I love to workshop ideas is by making people draw pictures or all contribute to one picture. And the reason for that is that often when we do brainstorming, we just put words down or post-it notes with words on them. And, frankly, half that stuff, it's not very useful. It's often very abstract or fluffy or vague, or, it says, let's create more ownership or something. Well, I have no idea how to do that. So a lot of the information in brainstorms turns out to be not very useful. But if people draw it, it becomes much more useful because it has to be about real things. And pictures are lovely at the end too. People can show them the pictures that show everyone the pictures they created. So that's the other thing I'd like to share too, and that is replacing words with pictures when we workshop solutions or ideas. And in fact, you can actually draw a picture of a whole project. You can actually draw little pictograms or a little flowchart or a little, like a cartoon, that shows a whole project happening. And so people can hold up and see a complete project drawn visually. It becomes easy to explain to others as well. And then lastly, celebrating success. Well, I mean, actually, I suppose really I'm a bit old-fashioned here. I just celebrate with a great big round of applause for everyone. It always seems to work. I think I've done a group hug once when I thought the audience was okay with that. But basically, yeah, just a great big hearty round of applause for everyone in the room for their intelligence and their efforts and their enthusiasm. And it does seem a lovely way to end a workshop and to celebrate successes. So I'm going to share those 3 ideas with you now and see if anyone would like to suggest some ways you can encourage groups to be physical, the way you can do workshopping and brainstorming, and also ideas for celebrating success. That's a lovely idea, time lapse. Yeah. Ooh. Hmm. Hmm. Good one. A trophy for someone at every meeting. Mm. Hokey pokey. Is hokey pokey a kind of chocolate? A dance. Oh, dude, the hokey pokey. That's what it's all about. Cool one. Uh-huh. Oh. Mm. Little. Mm. That is absolutely wonderful, everyone. Probably we need to pause this creation of fabulous ideas just because of the time available in our webinar. What do you think, Erica? It's amazing. It's pretty good. Okay, now I know where to look whenever I need an idea for a workshop or an event. So Erica, are you going to be able to collate all of this and make it available to us? I'll help. I'm happy to help.
It's all right, the technology does it for us.
Oh, excellent. I love when technology does stuff for us. Good, okay. Thank you, everyone. Those are simply marvelous ideas. They're wonderful. There's such incredible richness and imagination there. There's like a whole lifetime of totally fabulous group ideas to try out on unwitting groups of people so they become more excited than they could ever imagine in our events. And so I reckon that's a pretty good job of fun, welcoming and inclusive and not a chore. So I'm pretty much guaranteeing if any event was 3 or more of those ideas is not going to be a chore. I'd like to move our time together now onto that last idea, and that is to have a talk about particular facilitation or engagement challenges that some of you might be having or observing. And so this is a chance to really, have a good group talk about what might be solutions to some of those things. And so, once again, it's a bit of an experiment. I'm not quite sure how we'll do it with this technology, but I'm going to invite people here, you to jot down. I'll create a minute of silence for people to jot down any outstanding challenge that they would like to call upon the group to provide them with insights into how possibly to solve. So 1 minute of silence from now. Oh, the instructions are, have you had an outstanding facilitation or engagement challenge that you would like to call upon the group to help you troubleshoot? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, kid sounds are good. Up to a point. Can you all hear that? That's one of those blenders. The kids are getting smoothies. Okay, why don't we talk about this while other ideas are being created, other people are thinking about their challenges. That's a very good, yeah, okay, good, same question again. So let's talk about that, and it's a really good question. How can we make online things or engagement also fun, welcoming, inclusive, and not a chore? So what are some ideas for doing that? And this is an area where, I'm a newbie as well. The only story I can tell is one where I was doing one where there was a TV, and on the other side of the TV was other people in another place, and I realized that I had to tell them to be more Italian. So the more they expressive and move their arms around and use their body language, the better they would communicate. So that was a special rule I created for them. And I do think it helped. That can be a good rule, I think, to take, maybe think about special ground rules for that. I know one ground rule, yeah, that's a good one. Nice, to be really very, like that, that's unmissable, isn't it? Very strong. Yeah, good one. Yeah. Another one too, perhaps to make a ground rule that people aren't allowed to get up and walk out at random just because remote meeting. Human emojis. Okay, that's just completely stunning. Is that actually a thing, or do we get to invent it? That's a great idea, actually. You could start the meeting by everyone practicing some human emojis, and then people agree on what they were and use them during the event. Oh, oh. So, and you're working with them online. They're stuffy and they're online. You know what? I reckon, in my experience, often it's our fears that cause us to think that a bunch of people is stuffy and risk averse. It's just that those people are, you know, conservative. But I've worked with groups of conservative people, and you can still have a lot of fun with them. They kind of like it. It's just that for them, you have to be very kind doing fun stuff with them and not make them embarrassed. But they all want to be kids again. I honestly believe that everyone really still has a 7-year or 4 or 7-year-old inside them that's feeling a bit disappointed about how boring life is. And so when you create a safe chance for even the most stuffy bunch of scientists to have fun, they appreciate it. As long as we think carefully about doing it in a way that isn't humiliating. That's a good idea. You make sure that even though we have cake in our meeting, they have cake in their meeting too. Oh, that's a lovely idea. Yeah. So you can actually be sketching while it's on. Yeah, I really suggest, be brave, try stuff out. And just because people seem to be conservative doesn't mean that they're going to be upset if they are forced to do something a little bit crazy. They may really love it. I have done party hats with a bunch of risk management professionals, and you should have heard the ideas they come up with. That they actually made an advertisement with naked people in the back of a car juggling melons to explain a risk management concept. And I never would have thought that was possible. Oh, good. That's true. I often do that. I often say, it's an experiment, everyone. And that means people are a bit more relaxed about it. And afterwards I can, if it doesn't work, I can say, oh, well, we learned a lot from that experiment. It was a valuable experiment. Usually it does work. Oh, good. Yeah, good. I tell you what, one thing with conservative groups, I mean, with people, that part where we still get them to talk about themselves and their history a little bit, reveal something about themselves, or their the biggest victory they've had, or the most inspiring thing they've seen in the past year. It helps them come out of their shells as well, and it makes the whole space feel safer. They do. So just coming back to the online environment as well, what are some ways we can make that more engaging? Hmm. Yeah, like that. I know about naked meetings. You like my pillowcase? That's a good idea, isn't it? As soon as people wear, wacky hats, they really get into the persona. They start to feel like they're back at the kids' party again. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Mm. What does MNCRSN mean? Oh, right. Okay. I suppose the advantage of using Twitter or Facebook for a discussion is you get all the emojis to use too, which this system doesn't really have emojis, does it? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I reckon what kind of invitation look like, like a royal invitation, all encrusted in gold to a special event. Mm. Little fingers come from. Little fingers can play a little game. I think you like play a little finger game. Fingers. Little fingers. Something like that. One way might be to, in an online discussion, to do all of the boring admin stuff and the technical stuff, do it before or do it offline, so that the online part can be just the engaging things. Bye, Jackie. Yeah. Actually, you know, like you're just call it the good old show and tell is a great item to have in a meeting agenda. Yeah, never call it a meeting. I met these 17-year-old kids in northern suburbs school environment group, and they called all of their meetings parties. And there was this definite like overtone of boys meet girls going on in them as well that made them popular. Well, that's an idea. We could all have a little thing. Maybe everybody could have a little thing that could represent themselves or could talk for them during the meeting. That could be quite fun. That would make a big difference. I guarantee everyone has something like this in their lives. God, where do we get him? When my son was like just born, I went out and bought all the wacky critters I could find because there's so many boring ones. So this is one of his little wackies. I think I loved them more than he did. He actually likes all the conservative ones. No, I got it in a, you know, a fair. Well, folks, I reckon that has been the most amazing session, and it's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you, even though it is on, you know, relatively clunky online technology and I can't see your faces, but I can tell from the words you've used that there's so much enthusiasm and joy, even though it's in this remote online environment. I want to thank you for your imaginations and the amazing ideas that you so generously shared with everyone else, and I'm really looking forward to getting them all so I can steal them and use them myself. Thank you all, and I hope this session has been something that has been useful and contributes to your futures as absolutely fabulous facilitators and makes your groups fun, welcoming, inclusive, and absolutely not a chore. Best wishes to you all.
Great, thank you, Les. Thank you everyone for coming along today. And just remember, I'm here to help and support you all. So if you have any questions about the next steps or how to use the strategic plan template, please just give me a ring or send me an email, whatever you like. And I hope you're all looking forward to 2017 because we're going to achieve some really amazing things with all of the networks. So on that note, thanks again for coming along, and I will talk to you all soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.